Welcome everybody to the Onward VR Master League. What is the final match of regular season? I'm joined here by my two casters, Silent Knight and Snooper. Silent, how are you today?
Oh, so far so good. It's been a great week. We've had some great matches, and I am really excited for Ember and Mayhem. That's going to be a really fun one. How are you feeling, Snooper?
Pretty good. I just played a match myself, and I'm loving Onward right now.
Yeah, it has certainly been entertaining to drop in and be spectating the last few matches of this week, and I mean the last couple of weeks. We've had some great top 20 battles, and I mean this is one that we had to catch. I know there's a lot of people that wanted to see G-Men versus Raptors, but this match really matters on what is the final game that they can play in regular season. This is ranked 9 going up against ranked 2nd, and I mean, every time I think about Ember, I think they're always in this position where they're right on the cusp of going in to the closed qualifier. Am I wrong on that, Silent?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. And it's usually Ember's always a really fun team to where they are very good at upsetting. And
Yeah.
we've really seen them as a veteran team really moving in. They don't have a lot of roster changes usually. And so they really have the teamwork and the camaraderie of really helping to push in and really start to make an indent. But again, yeah, you're right. They're always just right on that edge.
It's a constant battle for them. And I mean, Snooper, if you're Ember right now, how have you felt this whole week? I mean, your stomach has just got to be in knots leading up to this game, right?
Suppose, but they've Ember's played Mayhem multiple times before.
True.
It's a team they know. They can study the strategies because Mayhem's obviously been casted quite a bit. So I think Ember coming into this, they're probably feeling pretty good. They're probably feeling on par with Mayhem, but Mayhem is definitely a very practiced team, a very skilled team, especially working together, their call-outs, with their movements, with their tactics. So it's kind of a dice roll, but I think Ember's feeling good about this.
Yeah, and you know, obviously the best indicator of what we're going to see today is to take a look at what bans are on the table and what our first map pick of the day is going to be. Silent, what do we have for bans today?
Well, first off, Ember, I mean, I really feel like this is a good choice on their part, but they decided to ban Subway. I mean, you know, there's just some really tricky stuff, and especially with how, you know, it is a little bit more towards the offensive side. I really think this is a good choice for Ember here.
Yeah, it certainly seems so. What is coming in for Mayhem?
So for Mayhem, they are banning the suburbias. So they are not liking that neighborhood feel and are really wanting to stay away from it. And again, you know, there's been some really interesting plays, and I'm kind of surprised by them not wanting to play suburbia. I thought that was one of their better maps, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to get a lot of range today, and I'm looking at rosters. Snooper, anyone on either one of these teams jump out to you as somebody that's like a dedicated sniper?
No one particularly jumps out as someone that, you know, picks the sniper every time, but I know
Right.
Mayhem's very good at the long-range shots. They're very good at setting up kill zones that are actually very wide and guarding the objective from almost all sides. And Downfall's one of those maps, or Quarantine, or any of the bigger maps, could certainly play in their favor because they know how to set up those long-range kill zones. And that might be one of Ember's weak spots.
Yeah, it does look like we have our first map of the day, too, and contrary to the close quarters bans coming out, it seems like map 1 is going to take us to Cargo. So despite the map pool getting limited to what is mostly long-range situations, the first one is the closest quarters you can get. Silent, what are your thoughts on this? Is Ember's map pick. I mean, I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just coming in swinging, and I'm really thinking that they're wanting to go in and get some strong momentum here, come in swinging, play the short maps, because odds are Mayhem's going to be either picking, my odds are Downfall or Quarantine, but I'm leaning more towards Quarantine. The nice part is Ember did get the home field advantage for this, and so that might make a big difference on if they can win or lose here.
It's a huge factor. You know, we don't talk about it often, but the home team gets to pick the first ban and the first map and third map. And so, you know, in the situation that things get tied between map 1 and 2, you have that third map as your map pick. Granted, the map pool's smaller than it normally is, but it's still, it's an advantage nonetheless. You can also pick side, and so It'll be interesting to see what we get today. We are going to cut to a brief intermission as we prep and hop into the lobbies. Teams are almost in, and we should be diving into round number 1 of this Ember versus Mayhem matchup. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right, and thank you guys so much for your patience. And here we go. We are starting with round 1, Ember being on Marsoc, and Mayhem being on Volk.
I'm seeing some very interesting loadouts on Marsoc. Just a lot of rifles, no LMGs, nothing real special, just a bunch of rifles. And honestly, I know I like to harp on pulling the LMGs for defense, but you really do need them on cargo for on offense. Put down that pre-fire.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. We saw Mayhem doing a little bit of pre-fire in the beginning, but they are hanging back and hanging tight. That pre-fire from Ember seems to be teching them in and causing them not to pause just yet. Wookie is being a little careful, but definitely making the run and crosses safely. He looked both ways, you could tell.
I think they finally realized that there wasn't an LMG bearing down on them from the pre-fire zone, and they could cross. If it's not an LMG going full auto, you can move.
Oh man, it looks like Switch just managed to miss those shots on Wookie as he crossed, and Wookie and now Defilate are both over there on a pretty strong situation. Here comes a nade off the mark.
It could have gotten someone randomly. Maybe that's what they're going for. You know, throw some random grenades, hopefully get someone. Not my kind of strategy, but it is a strategy.
Yeah, and so right now, surprisingly though, I thought they were going to be coming out guns a-blazing and everything, but you know, they're really hanging back. They're checking their corners and they're just being extra careful on where they are going to be moving.
Yeah, that was a very odd flash grenade. Flashes only go off after 3 seconds, so there was no chance of that getting anywhere near Switch or Quokka or basically any of Ember. Interesting use of it. Maybe it was an intimidation flash.
It might be, but right now you can see Ember is trying to play process of elimination. They're trying to check the average spots that everyone is going to be at, tucked in, hiding in, and trying to narrow it down so that they can move in and hopefully get a pick off to make it a 4v5. So far, though, James seems to have confirmed Switch, taking it down. Ember down, one man now.
Yeah, Mayhem's keeping them pushed up at that middle area. Hope maybe Hailfire will come out of the tunnel, guns blazing, but I think Theta knows he's there.
The tough part is Hellfire might have been close enough to where he could have heard Theta. He is moving in so quietly, though. The Potato Bot takes out Soju. Hellfire's push here is going to be absolutely crucial. Oh, but he threw a nade at just the wrong time. Or something. Did he throw a nade? Something flew.
He wasn't ready for it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And Theta came in and swept him away with his PKM.
And so right now, though, we are seeing, though, just a very strong defensive point as Defilate takes down Milkman also. And Quokka is the very last man. It is a 5v1 right now.
Not a situation you want to be in on cargo. There's not many places you can go, especially with 5 enemies roaming around.
Well, and the tough part is, too, if Quokka shoots, his position is known to 5 other people right then and there.
And they will swarm him. Or at least pin him down for the rest of the round. Either way, I'm pretty sure Mayhem's got this on lock. Ooh,
see, he did get the 1 kill, but now everyone else knows right where he is. He rotated, and he's getting pinned down. But he's playing it smart. He's tucked in. He gets another kill. Quokka now going. Defilate's coming up, though. Is he going to be able to get him in time?
Not yet. He's running. He's moving. Quokka, run and gunfighter.
And so far, he's actually managing to play this very well. I thought he was going to get picked off right after the first shot, but looks like no, he's still doing, and he is following a rotation incredibly well. This is smart on his part. He's played it masterfully, really.
Yeah, he's played it very masterfully. Granted, he does have 3 more players to kill in the next minute, 20 seconds, but I mean, he's been showing some great stuff. Quokka's been taking down people left and right as he moves. I don't think Mayhem knows exactly where he is now. He's rotated successfully across the pipes, going through the red crate, and it looks like Mayhem's looking in the wrong spot.
Yeah, the difficult part, though, is over here, there's not nearly as much stuff to hide in, and here comes the peek. Oh, and Wookie manages to get the peek and the shot, giving Mayhem the first win. But man, that was still a pretty impressive feat that Quokka was able to handle there, you know, and it'll be interesting to see on if Ember can, you know, manage to get back the defensive point here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very strong defensive area. Nightfire?
Yeah, you guys can take a little breather, a quick kickoff there, and yeah, to to the point of Quokka maneuvering, just really a smart shoot and move. You know, he didn't overstay his welcome in any of those positions when he found those early picks. He just stayed tucked in, got the kill, instantly dips back, continues his sprint, doesn't try and do any dancing or anything, gets himself into a more confident and comfortable position, and then tries to work from that. And it almost worked. You know, I think if maybe he had gone back up the tunnel, he might have found some success there instead of going over onto that objective side. But either way, a solid round out of Ember. Not enough to get the Marsoc W under their belt, but that's going to be the hardest job for this Ember team, is to get a Marsoc win against the likes of Mayhem.
Yeah, and that's true. The biggest thing that we've seen, I mean, Mayhem is just such a patient team, and that's one of the toughest things that you really have to work against. They're not going to get very antsy. They're not going to move and attack and get, kind of reckless in their tactics. They're going to stay together. They're going to stay communicating. But at the same time, Ember so far, they've played this map 7 times. They've won it 71% of the times that they've played it. And it looks like we're going to be going back to a reset as Quokka team kills a little.
Seems that Mayhem had a disconnect there, so a bit of a false start. We'll still be patiently waiting for the beginning of round 2, but oh yeah, a very quick reconnect too, and so hopefully we'll be right back into the start of round 2. Either way, I mean, just to kick this series off, that was a very interesting round 1. I love to see the potential 1v5 already in play, but not quite enough, and I think now is the real one.
Yeah, correct. Well, and it's interesting too, just because of how different now you have to play these maps, especially with Cargo, where it is so tight cornered. You really have to kind of slow down and check your corners, and so we're gonna have to see what Ember is gonna be able to do to tie this up and get some momentum back.
It's a very interesting defense from Ember right now. Switch made it across, but the rest of the team seems to just be forming up in the center crates. Milkman makes it across too. The pre-fire doesn't quite get anyone.
So yeah, and at this point we are seeing a pretty similar setup. Of course, Ember though is pushed up a little bit more than Mayhem was initially, but again we are seeing that very slow play as they move up, and now Wookie is in a tight position. Deflate is with him also on the other end.
Now they do have Hailfire and Milkman holding the rear. Hailfire's got a PKM, so if he needs to, he can put down enough fire to pin down anyone moving forward. Milkman obviously watching the corner for anyone moving through the buildings. A very interesting defense. I wonder how Mayhem's going to make it through this.
I mean, at this point, it's just getting the lucky first pick, really. If you can just make it to where there's a small hole by getting that first kill, you can start to penetrate the defense a little bit better, and then you can start getting some momentum going your way. The biggest thing, though, is Ember really just needs to make that end in first on getting that kill, and it looks like we did have a little bit of a trade.
Wookie
and now it is a 4v4. But Wookie now is known from Quokka, nades out, and barely off that mark.
Flash comes out. Interesting.
I wonder if Quokka's going to hear the footsteps.
Oh.
Hellfire taken out from Wookie. You do not want to see that.
No, that was the guy that was supposed to rescue everyone. Now it's down to Quokka versus Wookie.
So still a 3v3, though. It's still anyone's game. Quokka gets Wookie and gets the trade.
The Quokka blooms and takes down 2 before he dies. It's all down to James Bulk.
And right now, I mean, he's still in a good position, but it kind of seems like a slight similarity to the first round. Same positioning here. Just one less person that James has to worry about in this case.
It's a much more even ending, I will say that. James only has to fight 2 of Ember, and I mean, they are on objective. They are pretty tucked in. So James does have a bit of a tall order. If he finds Switch first, Milkman's probably going to pick him up and vice versa. So very interesting way to attack this. Let's see what James does.
He is managing his time rather well, though. Now, the difficult part on Ember's side, though, is with how fast everything happened, they might not have had enough time to call out who they have killed. So right now, Ember might not have an accurate count on who's still alive and who's dead. Same thing though for Mayhem. He might not know that there's only 2 left. He might be playing as though there's 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern for James. And even Ember, I mean, granted, they're tucked in. All they have to do is defend. They have to wait for Mayhem to come to them. But I'd say it's probably a bigger threat to James, considering he's got to clear a lot more zones in this minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah, and you're definitely right, but he is gathering some utilities, though, making sure that he can get the biggest advantage that he can. The nice part is, though, it will beep on his watch when there is 30 seconds left, and that's going to be a huge indicator. And so far, though, it does look like he is managing his time well. He's putting a pretty big cover on the map, and he's going to be coming in from a pretty good angle to be able to spot those who are going to be defending the objective.
Yeah, and he's taking the tunnel, a little bit of a risky move if someone was over there, but Ember's not. It's up to James to clear and make sure he's safe, but so far he's got relatively free movement around in the back end of Cargo.
And good job, though, so far on Ember's part on playing the patient game. They're still staying tucked in. They're listening, making sure that, no one happens to get caught out in this. I mean, it's so easy for Switch to really be the moving around switching guy. Oh, but he is taken out, down but not out.
Switch is giving out some good information to Milkman. All Milkman has to do is sit tight and use that info.
The difficult part, though, is with there only being 1 left, there are only so many places that you can really check. And Milkman now knows where James is, so he has to be very careful, but it doesn't look like he's quite looking over that way.
No.
And again, it might be coming down to he doesn't know that there's only 1 person left.
I think Milkman's in a great position to win this fight if they do get in a one-on-one, head-on-head fight.
Oh, he might hear him. Oh, Milkman gets the kill and confirms to tie up the round. Great job for Milkman there.
That was a exciting finale there. And yeah, I think that was Milk's plan the whole time with that position. He didn't necessarily need to be checking his flank because he could tuck in up against these barrels tight enough to avoid eyesight. And honestly, if who was that last alive? Was it? Gosh, I don't
James
know.
Volker,
Yeah, it was
Milkman.
James. Okay. If James had come around and entered in from the far south side, he would have ended up maybe potentially seeing the corner of Milkman there tucked in, but instead he wraps around the perfect angle for Milk to be where he is. He even checks Milkman's position, but doesn't see him through the barrels. And a very tight round 2, and this series is delivering so far.
Yeah, and it's coming down to where, yes, Mayhem held defensively so powerfully, not losing a single person, but I mean, we're still able to see that Ember is also still able to defend, and they're still able to take out Mayhem. So it looks like that we're in for a pretty close match, which is exciting to see.
At least so far, right? I'm not going to count Mayhem out yet, and I don't think we can as we hop into round 3.
So here we go, though. One of the tougher objectives to attack on. There are some very strong defensive positions that you are able to tuck in and that are very hard to take out. And so it's going to be interesting to see how flashes are utilized in this and, what kind of picks we can expect.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of LMGs on the Mayhem side, so expect that pre-fire. Oh, very interesting. They didn't use the pre-fire. They didn't use the ammo from the LMGs. They're holding on to it, I guess.
Yeah, and that was really interesting. That was one of the quietest starts to a round that we've had on Cargo in a while. But Hailfire was still able to make it across safely, and he's in a decent position to try to get some shots off, while the rest of the team kind of hangs back. And interesting.
No, you're fine. You want to play this safe on this objective. You want to make them come to you, especially with this objective being so stuck out. You can't really cap in any tucked-in places. It really is an objective that just let them come to you, and you'll take them down.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed by Mayhem, though, because they did really not all that much to stretch out. They're all surrounding near the objective, and, I mean, they're in pretty much a straight line. And so it's really interesting to see if that'll pay off. And so far, I mean, Switch was taken out. and Mayhem has the advantage for the time being. Again, though, it's going to come down. You have to somehow defeat that Mayhem defense.
Yeah, and you don't want to trickle in 1, 2 people at a time. That's not what you want to do on this objective. You really want to coordinate, push on all sides. Then you might have an advantage getting across these wide open zones. I'm not really seeing that from Ember right now. I'm seeing him hailfire. I'm seeing, I'm just seeing him trickle in a little bit. It's basically turning into 1v5s, and that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, well, and especially when you're hearing someone on the defensive side that are firing at you, that gives your team another chance to check from a different angle and possibly try to get that confirm the kill. But in this case, yeah, like you're saying, it's basically a 1v5 in this case, and right now they're being very hesitant on moving up, and it's like they're not quite able to commit. But I mean, how can you when you've already lost 2?
Well, at some point they do need to commit and just figure out a strategy to move forward, because sitting at the middle buildings is usually not a good idea on cargo. I hear Wookie talking about, do you want to flame it? I think a Molotov's coming out.
Yeah, and that's a good chance. But I mean, still, the nice part is Soju, Milkman, and Quokka, they're staying relatively close together, and they're moving forward. But another one taken out from, Ember right here. It's just such a difficult thing now. And so far, Mayhem hasn't lost a single one on defense. They just had one down, but not even out yet.
And Milkman uses the guy going for the res to get the kill, and Theta finds Milkman.
Dang, but still another solid defensive from Mayhem. And I mean, I'm really impressed with Mayhem's defense, especially on cargo here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Mayhem is a team that is very solid on holding their defensive angles. They don't overstep. They don't overextend and lose one early when they're on D. They do well to stay to the game plan, and we saw that for sure there. Interestingly, again, you noted it too. Ember just seems out of sync. They had their 3 sitting so far back, nearly back at their spawn, and then the 2 pushing forward. It just seemed a little bit disconnected, and I'm curious if we're going to see Mayhem sort of throw out a bit of a aggressive push here on offense or not. I almost think Ember are playing it slow just so that they don't let things spiral too quickly out of control on this map.
Yeah, that definitely can happen.
Yep, you just got to be extra careful on how that's going to go down, though. And so this round, though, is so crucial for Ember right here. You do not want to lose a defensive round like this and make it go into a 3-1 score.
There comes the pre-fire, preventing them from crossing over past the pipeline. It's just really corralling in the offensive team, making them push up through the tunnels, through the center buildings. It just makes you, as a defense line, you can sort of focus on smaller areas if you know they haven't crossed.
Yeah, and I mean, if you are able to take out literally a third of the map, it is so much easier to be like, hey guys, we know they are going to be coming from these 3 doorways or a tunnel. But it looks like Deathblade still was able to make it across. I mean, gosh, it is so scary to have to go and, commit to cross. But so far, we haven't really seen anyone taken out during the cross.
No, we haven't seen that yet. Maybe it's a failure of pre-fire too soon, pre-fire too late. I don't know, but crosses have been pretty safe this round, or this map. And we are seeing a little bit of hesitation from Mayhem. They're very spread out, just like we saw Ember last round. I wonder if they're going to pull together and push as one or trickle in.
Yeah, and that's going to be really interesting to see how it comes down to. But, I mean, so far, time-wise, they're doing good. And now Wookie and Potato Bot are moving together, which is going to be interesting to see on what they are going to be able to capitalize on. They're both checking the regular angles and going to start moving into no man's land pretty much.
Here we go. Mayhem's starting to form up, and the push is starting to begin. Nade narrowly missing Switch and Soju.
That was a spot-on nade, though. If one of them would have been standing there, it would have gotten them no problem. But now here comes nades, but Wookie and Potato Bot are in a very good position. One gets taken out, seems to be out of position a little as another one gets taken out. Wookie and Potato Bot are moving in. And Potato Bot taking out a third.
Headshot on Soju. Hailfire finds Deflade, but they trade. The res can go out to Deflade, and it's gonna. Oh
man, those reses have been getting Mayhem caught out. As Milkman grabs another kill, MVP for Ember at this point. He has gone all out with that.
We are off to the races. That was a spicy round, to quote Theta. Ember hanging on by the skin of their teeth there. I mean, you look at that Milkman play, and the play before that coming in from, gosh, who was that? I think it was, Defilade just charging forward, finding the triple. Oh, no, Potato Bot, excuse me. Snagging a couple of those kills there, then to be denied, and then quickly have everything shift on you. I mean, that was really looking like a Mayhem 3-4-man push onto the likes of a limited Ember defense, and ultimately it gets completely turned around on its head with a nice swing outside the rotation around the front of the in front of the objective instead of coming around to the edge where Potato was looking. Just really good plays by Milk there to kind of wrap things up and be quick about it. If Milk had played too slow or waited too long, those two that were down would have been able to give better call-outs to Potato, and then Potato can react differently. But they went instantly down that side, and Milk pressed the advantage, finds Potato completely open, and just a really, really good hold to keep things close, 2-2. It's exactly what Ember wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you see Milkman especially, very good map awareness there. He was able to time it right. He was also able to remember where the shots were coming from so that he could kind of build a mental image of where the enemy was, and he capitalized on that. So far, though, Quokka, 5 kills. Milkman, 5 kills as well. And on the other side, James with 5 kills. We need to see Switch get utilized a little bit more. He has a goose egg right now, but we'll see how that ends up going for them as we head into another round.
Here comes the pre-fire down the pipeline. Deflate still makes it across. Very interesting that we haven't seen any pre-fire kills.
Yeah, because I mean the gap isn't really all that big, but you really would think that there would be at least someone who does get taken out at one point. Oh, and a beautiful nade downing James. Is that going to cause one of them to come out? Looks like Potato Bot's going to be getting the revive.
Oh! James gets naded after he gets the res out.
Oh man, it looks like a good push is coming in though. They are surrounding the objective. There's one left on Mayhem.
Yeah, Hailfire finished off Wookie, and they are now calling in for backup. Everyone's charging in. And Ember takes the round.
That is absolutely crucial right there. That Ember now is able to go up 3-2 and going in for a defensive round.
This is, for Mayhem, they're good. They've locked in to the closed qualifier. They're not going to dip out of the top 7 position. They've had enough MMR where I don't think they can lose enough to go out of 7th. But Ember is right here. They are so close. If they can beat the number 2 team, it's going to be a good MMR boost. They're going to be, again, it's going to come down to how everything gets calculated at the end of this week, which is going to be today. But, it's for them to be doing this well, to get that Marsoc round, it's huge. This is their map pick. They did not want to let things go Mayhem's way, which it was going. But to now be able to snag that Marsoc round, they're going on the Volk defensive. Yeah, it's the Triangle of Death, so not exactly an easy one to defend, but again, they are managing this pretty dang well as we go into round 6.
Yeah, and like you said, Nightfire, you said like how Ember is right at the edge. They are in 9th place. They are almost playing with the top teams. But right here, though, we're still able to see they're able to play with the big boys. They're able to show that they are, in fact, a veteran team, and they are not to be underestimated in the slightest.
I'd like to remind everyone that most of these players have been playing for, years now. I think Soju's probably the newest player on the field. But this is high-tier Onward. You're seeing some of the best Onward that you could probably imagine. Oh, and that nade barely misses Defilade.
Dang. I want to know what he is eating because, man, that would have taken me out so fast.
Yeah, I would have expected to die if I saw that roll through the door. And Quokka finds Theta with a headshot.
And this is exactly what Ember needs to really close out this map.
They sound like they're feeling good. They're definitely playing top tier. They're not letting anything get to their heads. And morale plays a big part. Once you start getting down on yourself, you're going to start playing down.
Yep, exactly. Well, and I mean, if anything, just like you said, now they have to only take out 2 more and they've secured the first map win. If they are able to do this, again, that is a huge confidence boost as they go into the second map. And so we'll be able to see what they're having to do. They're holding their angles down, though. And man, I'm impressed. Good job, Ember.
Yeah, they've got Mayhem in a corner literally right now. Oh, and Quokka finds Deathlade with a headshot. Just popped out
and that's not an easy shot to make. He was in complete cover now. Of course, some of that is penetrable to be shot, but still he was able to secure that headshot. And James has shot out, so they now know where the last guy is, and Switch might be able to get the kill.
We've seen James do some miracles, so I wouldn't put it past him to take down all 5 Embermen.
Well, yeah, and right now James is the top killer on Mayhem, just barely though. But again, he's doing his rotations, he's keeping it smart. He has plenty of time to work with, but still going against 5 members of Ember, that is not a situation you want to be in.
No, especially on cargo, there's not a lot of maneuver room, and once you, as you said, once you start shooting, they're going to start closing in. And that looks like what is happening. I mean, Hailfire's moving around. They're pinning James back every time they see him, so that's a rough deal for him.
Well, and Quokka just spotted James, shot a couple of shots at him, so he's able to at least let his team know where they're at. And Quokka might be able to get the kill, and he does. Mayhem has lost the first map as Ember takes it 4-2.
A very solid hold there from the likes of Ember, able to shut down Mayhem from coming out, and they got the kills, all 5 alive. It's exactly what you want on your map pick, and now Mayhem are on the back foot. It's interesting to see how this Mayhem team will perform put into this situation, because I'm curious to see if we'll see them sort of ramp up the focus. I imagine we're going to get to a little bit wider ranged map, maybe the likes of Bazaar or Quarantine for map number 2, and it's going to be different, I think. That was certainly close. Ember doing really good to snag those kills. Quokka 10 and 6 there. But, it's definitely not over yet. Mayhem is certainly a team that if you get it to the range, I think things may start to favor them. But we'll have to see. A solid performance to kick this map 1 off, though.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's definitely not over yet. But at the same time, it's tough when you're going against, one of the top teams, especially the number 2 team right before the end. And to be able to take the first map, it's like, okay, we knew we had a chance to win, but we just took the first map. We really could possibly do this. And so I just think this is a huge morale boost for Ember here, and they just need to carry that into the next map and see what they can do. Again, though, it's Mayhem's choice, and so it's going to be very interesting to see what they end up picking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm voting for a long range map. I can definitely see that coming out of Mayhem's side, just to switch it up, because cargo is such a Bazaar. Okay.
That almost doesn't, quite surprise me. I was thinking more Quarantine, but Bazaar, I mean, every time I have seen Ember on Bazaar, every time I've seen Mayhem on Bazaar, they have not disappointed. Their attacking is so slow, so careful, that they are able to do some amazing things on that map.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think this definitely makes sense for the Mayhem map pick. They are very good on Bazaar. Oftentimes, this map is banned against them, so they don't even really get to, when they do get to play it, it's a bit of a treat for them. But yeah, this is definitely how Mayhem need things to work out. The Bazaar map pick, I think, is going to work out perfectly for them. And they are going to be, I wonder. Mayhem are starting on defense, so they may have chosen side instead of map. Which, if that's the case, is interesting that Ember picked Bazaar for how strong Mayhem performs on it.
Yeah, and I'm wondering why that would be, because I've seen Ember on quarantine and they've done solid with that. And, you know, of course they're not able to pick Suburbia, but yeah, I mean, for me, Bazaar is basically Mayhem's best map, in my opinion. And so I'm really surprised that they did decide to pick this.
First objective is Kayat too, so you want to talk about a potential volatile start to this thing. They're going on the offense, and they may be thinking cap for this first round as we dive into the map number 2.
Yeah, and that would just be the worst blow for them to have to, you know, for Mayhem to lose the first map and then for them to also go in and get the cap. But again, you know, at the same time, if Mayhem's able to defend it and then also get the cap, we're looking at a 3-0. So, I mean, it really could go either way here.
Well, Ember's spawning over in the east, so no matter what, they're pushing in from that direction, and they can't really navigate to the west within a short amount of time. But, oh wow, this is a fast push into the objective area. Quoke was already in Kayat.
Yeah, and no one really saw that angle. He is right next to the objective. PotatoBot hasn't heard him yet. Quokka's going right up to the objective.
Defilade heard him. Defilade's moving in.
Well, yeah,
Wookiee's
Defilade heard him, but no one's going to think that that's not their teammate.
Okay.
Oh, Wookiee's going to find him.
No,
Oh,
he's not.
what is
this?
This is a cap for Ember.
This is a cap. Quokka has walked into the objective.
This is like Splinter Cell. My Quokka.
Oh my gosh. Mayhem has failed to defend the objective as Quokka capped the objective.
Just booked it in there, moved it past the defense. Oh my god.
I have not seen that.
This objective is very capable because there's so many different sort of routes that you have to cover. You can never really let go of your center coverage because you have to be able to ID rotations like that. What Mayhem did is spread out everywhere but center. They left this huge gaping hole straight up to Kayat, and Quokka just sprinted. He didn't stop sprinting. I tracked him the whole way. He just sprinted straight up to the OBJ. He crouched once when he was near Potato. Potato doesn't hear him because he was tunneling into the east because, hey, everyone was coming in from the east. And to then go for that play and be Ember and have so much on the line, it's such a huge choice for this Ember team to make there and commit to and follow through with, and for it to pay off. I mean, if you're Ember right now, you got to be feeling pretty dang good. I can't believe Wookiee didn't hear that.
Nope, and they're probably on Cloud 9 right now. But if you go back and watch that, the timing of that, just with how he ran in and how everything, like, he basically parted the waters right there because all of Mayhem happened to be out of his line of sight right when he was moving through.
Oh, we have to listen to the Mayhem comms here to see if they're rattled at all.
I mean, Ember's feeling great right now. You can hear it on their comms. They're ready to go.
Yeah, Theta saying new round there, trying to refocus everybody, but we'll see what happens as we hop into round 3. Or, excuse me, 2.
But again, that just is a huge blow mentally. And now Defilade is taken out on the cross, down but not out. But still, after the cap, to then lose Defilade just like that. They now know the spawn. And it's just, this is a dangerous position for Mayhem to be in.
I mean, Mayhem's certainly on a rough start here with Defilade going down. Just, I mean, they got to be feeling it. That's a rough loss on the first round. It definitely affects you. But Mayhem's a good practice team. They can definitely push past it, and I've definitely seen them do great things after losses. So let's see how this plays out.
Yep, but at the same time, like you've said previously, this is a mental game. And so you just have to be careful, and you always have to remember, just like how he said, you know, there's always another round. This is a new round, a new chance to make a comeback and still make an impact on this game. It is not over for us yet. We still have a chance. And so I think Mayhem can still come in and do that. It is an uphill battle, but they still can.
And they are spreading out. They are doing what they need to do to get to objective. We got 2 moving around east. One moving, it looks like they're all moving eventually to the west. But right now they're currently in Center Street. They're doing what they need to do to get to the objective. They're not rushing in. They're not playing it loose and careless. Quokka goes down to Theta. This might be Mayhem's revenge.
Yeah, it very well might be. And I mean, the biggest thing for Mayhem to do here, I mean, even if they aren't able to get the cap, if they can still get the win, 1-2 is a lot easier to handle than a 3-0. So this is a very big moment for them.
Just see how they move in. That's the core part. Cuoco sort of ran out and got shot in the street. The rest of Ember isn't going to be so generous. I can definitely see a lot of tucked in players right now. Hailfire over in the west, Milkman in the back, watching the rear of Kayak, Soju watching that top floor, making sure no one does what Cuoco just did the first round. So Ember's ready. They may be down a man, but they are set up in a proper defense, and Mayhem just needs to start chipping away at it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this is easily, in my opinion, the hardest objective to defend. Wookie taking a bullet, though, but is not downed and still walking. He had to use a syringe, but he's still here. But again, this is just such a difficult objective, and you really have to trust your other teammates on how they are doing defensively. And if one goes down, it is such a hard recovery to make defensively.
Ooh, Soju's getting pinned down by Theta. Maybe Milkman can respond, but really it's a dangerous refrag. James is coming up behind.
Well, I mean, and look at that coordination right now. They are having them push in from both sides, and they're pretty much the same distance at around the same time. Now, still, I mean, the times have changed, of course, and so there's only 1:40 left. There is not a lot of time, but they are getting right next to the objective. Of course, Milkman, though, is going to be their main worry here, and he possibly will hear them.
Oh, man. And Theta goes down to a Milkman trade, but James Wolk finds him. Or did that happen backwards? My bad. James Wolk goes down and Theta finds him.
Well, and it looks like another one does go down as well. But, I mean, this is tough. This is going to be tough for them. But, again, Switch does not want this to be a cap. It's much better at this point to give up the point than to actually give up a cap.
Yeah, right now his best plan is either Rambo through the rest of Mayhem while guarding the objective or die. You never want those 2 points, especially right now since Ember's already up 2 points. You really don't want Mayhem to catch up.
And there we go. Okay. And I mean, if you're going to be losing this round, that's the best way to lose it. You don't want to, I mean, because there are a million different angles to cap on. And so good job on Ember for at least not giving up the 2 points.
The most important answer back for Mayhem, to pop back here and snag a Marsoc round of their own, very needed to get the energy back onto their side. Now they can potentially tie things up. Granted, our second objective is arguably the second most capable one. So, curious to see how they hold. If you're Ember, you gotta be thinking cap right here, because why not? You just pulled it off on Kayat. Go fast, apply the pressure, try and overwhelm, and get yourself a second map in the series that you so desperately need.
Yeah, and that's a good point, but at the same time, you don't want to have that antsiness, that need for the win to overtake your judgment as well.
Yeah, you could just drop it right back into a 2-2, even things out, let Mayhem crawl back if you do play it carelessly. So yeah, it's certainly a double-edged sword. And like I said, it takes guts to go for that cap when Ember went for it. It's going to take guts to make that call here. They have the quick spawn.
They do have the quick spawn, and that's going to be absolutely monumental. We're going to be able to see who's going to be able, because sometimes you're able to get a quick pick right off the bat, and so what's going to happen?
Yep, of course.
They're close spawn.
I mean, I can definitely see Mayhem holding up in a castle defense, but let's see how they spread out. They certainly have more interesting tactics than just sitting on the objective. A quick push from Ember.
Yeah, so far they did push up super quick. I mean, that's the biggest thing, though. They know the timing. They knew exactly how far they were able to get before someone was going to be able to spot them. But also surprising, Mayhem didn't really peek all that much.
Not a lot of peeks. They just sort of lured them out, especially on that approach to Kayat. They had 4 members approaching it from both sides from the rear. One side was putting out a lot of fire, making a lot of noise, distracting the defense, while the other side just came in and sweeped them from the rear. And that's what you need to do. Pincer tactics do work. You just need to coordinate them well. It all slows down. Ember's trying to negotiate the entrance to the objective, I guess, mini market is what we're calling it these days.
Uh-oh. There is some fire, and it looks like... I mean, it sounds like they almost do know right where Potato Bot is, but they just need to be very careful. Oh, but there is a trade right there. As both Ember and Mayhem lose one. That's usually a harder hit for the defensive side on this objective.
Yeah, you need a lot of people to guard all the corners. There's a few little nooks that when you're low on people, you can definitely get capped on without seeing them. Especially that corner where the buildings are and around near the alleyway. Definitely got to be concerned about that.
Well, and the tough part is a lot of these positions where they are possibly hiding at are pretty common knowledge. You know their odds are going to be there, like especially where Potato Bot is on objective. That is such a common spot. It is safe to assume that there is someone always there. The difficult part is getting there to take out Potato Bot. And so right now it looks like Hellfire is going to be attempting that, moving in ever so carefully. But if he makes any noise, Potato Bot's going to know right where he is.
But the Miracle Man Quoka's right there. Oh, and Hellfire finds Potato Bot, and the objective is essentially wide open right now.
Well, Wookie's looking right at it, and so it's going to be relying on if they are able to take care of Wookie, and if so, Deflade's going to be coming in from the backside right here. They do still have a good cover of objective, but Deflade's now taken out.
Oh.
Ember is making an impact.
Yeah, Theta and Wookie are stuck in the blue room all the way across the... Oh, and Theta is shot in the head, or shoots Quoka in the head. So much is happening right now.
And Mayhem has lost the round, and now we are going into a 3-1. Just an all-around great attack.
Ember are definitely stepping up to the plate today. I don't know what they've done to really lock in the focus, but they are looking very clean. And it looks like Mayhem is just struggling to really get everything firing on all cylinders. You know, they do lose one early there, and that kind of throws things off for them. But to then be trapped inside blue room, it's just in less than optimal positioning for them when it comes down to these final scenarios. And if you're Mayhem, you definitely got to come back and look at this tape and do some homework, because teams are going to be taking this and realizing Ember playing it fast is maybe what is throwing off Mayhem. I don't know what the real culprit is here, but they are just not able to find the kills that they need, and Mayhem are struggling to really get any kind of momentum.
Yeah, well, and you saw right there at the end of the round, two of the Mayhem people got trapped in the blue room. The final two got trapped in the blue room, and that's just detrimental.
Yeah, and I mean, you really need to be on that objective, guarding those middle buildings. Once you get away from the objective, you're just asking to get capped on or get eliminated because you're trying to get or prevent the cap. So.
Yep, and right now, I mean, Ember's looking really good so far. They are 1 point away from winning the match, from creating the upset. So let's see what happens. But Mayhem, hey, they've had the 1-3 deficit before. They've come back and won the map. They have that chance.
Yeah, very, very fast push from Potato Bot there. I think he's trying to pull what Quoka did, just get there before anyone's ready. But this is not an objective to do that, especially where they spawned. You just don't have the time. As we see, Ember's already formed up. They're on their defense. They're in their spots, just waiting for Mayhem.
Well, and like one thing that Mayhem's always really good at doing, they're able to rush in, but then at the same time, they stop and they lock down. They'll wait and allow for their other teammates to move all the way around, get into position, and then they push in together. And so while these people in the front, like for example, Potato Bot is in position and pretty close to objective all in all, he's going to wait. He's not going to be very reckless, and he's going to wait for his other teammates to come in and get ready for their positions.
Yeah, and you can see that happening right now. Mayhem slowly moving up, trying to make sure that they can get into position safely, clearing all the corners they need to. Theta, Wookie, Defilade. I mean, Potato Bot's already in position, but he's waiting for James Bulk. I mean, they're slowly moving up. No one's drawing attention to themselves. No one's doing anything crazy. And Potato Bot finds Switch with a headshot as he pokes out.
And again, that's kind of like the beginning of what we saw last round. So I mean, Mayhem might be able to go ahead and get this, but again, that's a person you do not want to lose, especially defensively on this objective. And so I really like what Mayhem is doing here on trying to get 3 around, but I mean, again, this is such a wide open road to try to attack from. It is so dangerous to try to cross.
And even if they do cross, Hailfire's there for the ambush. So, and that's not a spot people expect to find anyone. So I'm pretty sure Hailfire's at least going to get 1, if not 2, if they move through that area.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difficult part. We don't really see that position played too much. I've seen Animal House even playing that position a couple of times. But other than that, yeah. But the problem is, once that position is known, it's very easy to try to get around and pre-fire it to try to get that. But, I mean, at the same time, yeah, you're right. Hailfire has the jump on them. It's just the patience game.
And we know Ember can play the patience game. I mean, they seem to be hitting back at Mayhem tit for tat.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit careful. We did see a little bit in Cargo where Ember hit a little antsy and a little... But, I mean, overall, Ember has been playing fabulously. And, I mean, Mayhem has too. And there goes Hailfire getting the, refrag right there, making it a 4v4. But, again, now his position is known. And Wookiee is looking right in and confirming that kill.
Yeah, Mayhem's playing this very methodically, taking down the defense just one by one, chipping away at it. And at this point, James might have capped there if they weren't careful.
Oh, and Milkman coming in for the clutch again. Definitely, though, coming in. Oh, no. Where's Soju?
It's all down to Soju.
If Soju would have been looking at that, he could have got Defilade right there. But it looks like now he's making a lot of noise, moving right into Defilade, but does get the kill.
Now 1v1, and Wookiee finds him from behind. Bravo, Mayhem coming back.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is an absolutely crucial round for Mayhem, though. But Mayhem has so far struggled to defend here.
Yeah, this is... It's interesting because they picked defense, and Ember said, okay, we'll go Bazaar. They seem to have been, at the very least, practicing their Marsoc pushes, or they were investing in the chance that they would get Kayat in that objective on the plate. Now that they're both gone, it's not exactly an easy uphill battle here. This is not an easy objective to cap on. Certainly is possible, but Mayhem, with their defensive style, I think should be able to put this to a 3-3.
Oh, man, and that would be a series to watch right there. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. But again, yeah, this is going to be a crucial round for Ember here. They are so close to clinching this. They just need to do what's right, get some kills. And I mean, this is so hard to attack.
I mean, there's a danger in just getting too confident. Ember's certainly had some very spectacular wins here, but that can go to your head. You can start playing a little too loose. And especially against a team like Mayhem, that can come back to bite you. Mayhem can take advantage of that.
Yep, and Quokka's running in hard with some pre-fire. His position's known. Definitely going for the peak, but Quokka's backing right back out. Now, these dark rooms are so difficult to try to get around because it's so hard with how well they are defensively protected. And so usually you want to stick 2, maybe even sometimes 3 people in these buildings because of how powerful they are. And so Ember's going to need to try to capitalize on it, move slow, move carefully, and try to pick out Potato Bot or Defilade here.
Yeah, Potato Bot and Defilade are definitely set up to complement each other's positions. Make sure that if one starts getting moved in on, they can quickly move around and get the refrag relatively safely. That's going to change here in a minute once Ember catches up to Switch, but right now they're in a good spot to hold their defense.
Yeah, and it looks like some pre-fire from Wookiee just to be safe. That's a dangerous thing to do sometimes, though, because that did just tell Milkman exactly where Wookiee's at. And so now Hillfire and Milkman are going to be moving up, trying to get that pick. But we'll see what happens as Switch moves in to try to take on Defilade and Potato Bot. But so far, this is a dangerous realm to be in right now.
Yeah, definitely poked up the stairs, looked exactly in the direction of Switch, but I think Switch was just under the lip of the platform he was on, and a Hailfire downs Quokka with...
No! And the refrag!
Oh, that was a team kill. But they
now,
seem to recover.
Kind of, but Switch is moving around a lot, making a lot of noise right now. Quokka's moving around a lot too. Definitely sneaking up the stairs.
Yeah, team kill can definitely mess with the psyche and can basically end a round and even a map.
Completely, but they did get a kill, but Defilade managed to get a kill as well. Switch, though, he might be able to be seen through the window from Defilade.
Oh!
Ooh,
And there's
but
a
the
good trade on... Yeah, trade on Potato Bot. So far, it's all down to Soju.
Just like that. That team kill, though, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just that nervousness sometimes where you're moving in, you think you see something, you automatically register that it is a player, and you go for the shot and realize it's a teammate. And then also to shoot back and kill the person who tried to team kill your own teammate, that's dangerous. And I mean, right now it's now 1v3 on a very difficult objective. And so at this point, it looks like we're going to a 3-3.
The bright side of that for Ember is that this is a very defensible objective, and even if they lose, they can defend it, and they have that option to do that. So, I mean, Ember is in a good place, but they're not in a good place this round.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't want to have, I mean, they got the cap, they got the map 1 win, they made it a 3-1 situation. You don't want to have to give that up, You don't want to have to lose map 2 after having all that go your way. And so, I mean, Ember just really needs to hunker back down and, refocus, because right now there's just some minor mistakes that are being made that are going to be costing them rounds if they're not careful.
Yeah, team killing will definitely do that. I will say Quokka does have a personal win with that cap, because that was spectacular.
Well, yeah, and just the odds of being able to run up. I mean, I really do think he did study some gameplay there in that case, because you don't just run, willy-nilly to an objective like that. I'm sure he watched, he planned it all out, and he went for it and was able to capitalize on it. Unfortunately, though, we need to see if Soju's going to be able to do that. With 42 seconds, though, it's not likely.
No, this is a rough objective to move in on, especially from the angle he's coming from. He might find Defilade, but no matter what, Theta and Wookiee can just hold back for the next 30 seconds, make sure he doesn't cap, and it's done.
Oh, man, it's so close to Defilade. Defilade's playing the patience game. Good job on his part. Not getting antsy, not trying to get around the corner. He hears right where Soju is.
Soju knows he's down to the last 30 seconds, and I think he knows it's done. He's running, yep.
Unfortunately, with 3 left, there's not a whole lot you can do there, but looks like going into it.
Yeah, I can't believe we are taking this to a round 7 here for this map 2. What could be series decider. Ember managing to sneak away with cargo, doing good to get back the lead and get that map. And then to come out so good and strong on Bazaar and let things kind of crumble a little bit. I mean, that's what we talked about, right? The overconfidence can bite you in the butt. Sure, it's good to maybe invest in a risky play from time to time, but when the numbers start to work against you, suddenly it's a snowball. And I mean, the pressure starts to get heavy, and you make team kill. You make choices that you maybe wouldn't necessarily. That team kill is so hard to avoid. It's the shadowing in the current iteration is so hard to really differentiate. What it comes down to is just knowing exactly where your team is and not taking those shots. And when you're in the pressure moment like they are right now, when everything matters, every single point matters for the team like Ember, you got to wonder if that's playing an effect on them.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. It does look like we have a reset trigger as well. But again, I mean, they're almost going to be able to upset one of the top teams. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's also something that Mayhem hasn't had an opportunity to do too much. And so I could just see the nerves probably taking over a little bit and causing them to, flick the trigger a little bit and getting that team kill in that case. Looks like, though, we do have a pretty quick reset, though, considering. And so Mayhem got everything in gear and are spawning in for another round. And here we go. It all comes down to this, a make or break for Mayhem.
I do believe this is round 6 because of Quokka's miracle cap.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, cool.
1 kill at a time. Play smart.
Both teams are definitely very serious right now. I think Ember's, had their fire put down a little bit after that round. A lot of confusion, a lot of mistakes, as you said. So I think they're tightening it up, ratcheting down the looseness that we saw in the few of the earlier plays.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's not something to get, disheartened over. Ember has still played absolutely amazingly. And the fact that they have been able to make the plays that they've made is commendable. And so, yes, they have made mistakes, but it's not something that you should let entirely go to your head. You just reset, you take it on. They still have the chance to make it. They're 1 point away still. They just needed a few more chances to possibly do it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, Ember's definitely played very well. Mayhem too. I mean, 3-3 is definitely a very interesting way to end map 2. So I'm curious to see how Mayhem takes this. This is a very defensible objective, and Ember is certainly castled up. They're covering all the angles they need to. They got someone watching north. They got Hailfire in the alleyway. They got Soju and Milkman near the objective. And they got, who is that? Kwoka in a nice place that he can move around and help anyone who needs help.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. But the biggest thing I think for Ember here also, that they just don't get carried away on their peaking. Especially Mayhem, they are pretty slow, especially on these kinds of objectives, on how they attack. And so you just kind of let them run out the clock and then force them into their positions and force them to have to come towards the objective. And so, again, you just got to be very careful. And right now, it's curious, too, that only Hailfire is the only one in these buildings, because I thought defensively that is one of the strongest buildings to be in, are where Mayhem played last round.
You're not wrong. I mean, they're definitely strong buildings, but it depends on how you set up your defense. It looks like Ember's favoring being closer to the objective, making sure mostly everyone is across the street. Hailfire's out there on the other side, but that's not a bad thing. You can get some good info. You can see who's crossing through the alleyway. You can call that out. That's a good position to, I guess, not invest a ton of people. Just leave that one guy out there and make sure that the objective is basically solid. If anyone gets in there, a refrag can happen really quickly. So Ember's definitely set up for success right now.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. And as long as Milkman, also playing in the mini bazaar area, is able to, keep hunkered down, it looks like he's going to be basically the map caller out for the time being until the madness happens. But here comes a frag. Off mark. Ooh. But, I mean, Milkman, he's basically the one standing between Defilade and James on this. And he's hearing the nades.
Yeah, a lot of speculative grenades going out. Like, they definitely haven't seen Milkman, but they're just trying to clear out that mini market in the west so that they can cross the street. But I think Hailfire is the one that's going to catch them as they cross.
Well, and I mean, and Soju right here is also in a very good spot to where he is able to look into the mini bazaar and see if there's anyone happening to be pushing in. Right now, though, there doesn't look like anything is. You just got to be very careful because it's easy to see ahead through that window and just try to take it out. And so, again, though, I really think this is going to come down to Milkman and how he defends. But I'm really curious about Potato Bot being completely prone. Hailfire is down by Defilade and confirmed. And now here comes the push.
Yep, they're down to the last minute, so the push is happening. No matter what happens, they're going to crash down on the objective hard. Unfortunately, they haven't quite chipped away at the defense too hard. Only one member's gone down, Hailfire. So it's going to be an interesting skirmish for that last 60 seconds.
And Kwoka's position is so strong. They have to cross that street. Switch is watching his other angle. Kwoka is watching the cross on the street. Even when Kwoka's position is known, that is going to be such a hard angle to take out. And so here comes some flashes, and with 40 seconds left, it is going to be down to the wire on who wins this match. Looks like a trade with Milkman. Here comes the run. Defilade's coming in on objective.
Oh,
that's going to be able to pick up.
That might be a cap.
This might be a cap.
Defilade's in capping position. 24 seconds left.
And it is over. Mayhem goes and wins the map, coming from behind and making them down but not out and still in this match.
A impressive comeback from the likes of Mayhem, and You know, a lesson learned if you're Ember, you can never count out a team that's in the top 7. Every single team in the top 7 can rally back. Every single team has a player that can excel when needed, that can play under pressure, and that can do well when the moment really comes down to it. And if any sort of momentum, if it, you know, the gas, for example, the pedal is let off the gas, a team like Mayhem will be able to bounce back pretty well. And a very solid job for them to hold on after what was a demoralizing round start. To take Cargo 4-2 and then to go into Mayhem's map pick and kick it off with a cap, I mean, it couldn't have been a better start for Ember. So for Mayhem to push this to a map 3 series decider on Quarantine, hey, we talked about it. It seems to be a map that Mayhem does well in, but Ember has picked side. And so this is Mayhem's map pick.
Oh, man, and that's going to be really interesting to see. But, I mean, so far, we're going to be able to see if defense happens to make a bigger impact here. With how Quarantine is, though, especially with the double rooftops, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how they are going to be able to defend. I really think, though, Mayhem is so dangerous, though, especially with their sniping skills. As long as Ember can tuck in, not get picked off from the distance, they might be able to make an impact to still win this map and ultimately the match.
And the first objective on Quarantine is over by gas station, so it's a very defensible objective. Very defensive. I mean, you've got the hospital right next to it, you got the gas station, you got the what do we call this? The warehouse behind the hospital. A lot of really solid places close to the objective to just hold up that Ember can use to their advantage and take a round 1 win.
Yep, and so it all comes down to how Mayhem is going to handle this. I mean, that is, again, a huge morale boost to them. They're still in this. They can still play for points. They can still play to take this in. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. And it looks like Mayhem did get a pretty good spawn for this. And so here we go. The final map is Quarantine, and we are going down to the deciding factor on who takes this victory.
Here comes the pre-fire. Seems like a south spawn. We call this quick spawn because it's very close to this objective. They're going to encounter each other in the next 5 seconds. Here comes Potato Bot and Quokka. Quokka finds Potato Bot after he finds Switch, so definitely a good refrag there, and Quokka takes the hospital.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because, I mean, hospital and warehouse, it's so tough because there's so many spots that you can hide in. Some things are penetrable, some things aren't, and it's dark in there too. So if someone's peeking out that window and sees you from across the map, they could take you out from hospital, and you would have such a hard time pointing out where you were shot from.
Quokka's falling back. Oh, and definitely finds him in the windows. Quokka's down, so he can give out some good information, but James is going to come for the finish.
Yeah, but so if Quokka's able to call out that there are 2 on objective, he was fired at, and again, doesn't look like that's penetrable, so he's able to hide behind it safely. But still, that was a really good pickup on Quokka. You just got to be very careful when walking through those windows, too, because sometimes they can be holding that angle and take you out just as easily.
I'm a little concerned about Ember's defense right now because they moved 2 into 1 in Burning and 1 over in Tank Courtyard, and they're very, very far from objective. So if Milkman goes down, this could be another cap for Mayhem.
Well, and Hellfire has a very high chance of being taken out by those who are possibly going to be checking on the rooftop for objective. He's got to be very careful with that because his back is to 2 of the enemy right now. And so, yes, he is possibly able to take out James and them, but nope, Theta from behind manages to take him out.
Yeah, they sent 2 around to the north, and that definitely paid off right there. Soju's in a difficult position because he needs to watch the objective, but he also knows people are in the north, so he's now looking essentially 180 degrees trying to, I guess, find a pick and make sure they don't get to the objective. So rough deal for Soju. Milkman's on the objective, but he's only 1 man.
Yeah, but he is 1 man who has been known, especially this match, to get multiple kills. But still, if you can take him out of that situation and you don't have to make him go through it, it's for the best. And so right now, though, it is an uphill battle for them. And Soju, though, is going to really need to have to get some good picks to make sure that his teammate Milkman doesn't have to, overextend and try to pull off a miracle.
I mean, a very interesting push off the beginning for Ember. They didn't take the obvious spots. They didn't tuck in too hard, and I think Mayhem's taking advantage of that. They've now got Soju on an island who has to fight, like I said, 180 degrees back and forth. Make sure that he's not dying.
Yeah, and I really do like, though, how Mayhem is handling it, though. They're still moving up 2 people on each squad, and they're really keeping close to each other, but not close enough to where it's going to be an easy refrag to get 2 kills. Oh! And Soju taken out with the frag grenade. Launched from a gun. Beautiful shot. Down but not out, but still a 4v1. And is taken out for Ember. Losing the first round, and Mayhem going up.
I mean, that was the best decision there.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we see it a lot from teams at that high level that, when it's 4-1, you're thinking, geez, you got the kill count. Why not just go for the cap? Try and risk it. Try and get yourself 2 points. We tend to see that teams will just opt for the point. Just give me a Marsoc win. I'll take what I can get. And especially when things do come down to 3-3, every point matters. So to get a Marsoc win to kick things off like that for Mayhem, it's perfect. And we're not even spending the minute and a half between rounds. These teams just want to go at it on quarantine as we hop into round 2.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, they had some good trades initially, and what's going to be fun to see is how Ember now attacks now that they have the quick spawn. Are they going to be rushing in fast like we have seen them do? Are they going to get some quick kills like Mayhem did last round? I mean, only time will tell.
Well, Mayhem's definitely taking the more obvious positions. They're not spreading out the way Ember did. They're sending 2 into the hospital. A little dangerous right now considering it is quick spawn and Theta doesn't make it. But Wookie finds Switch and gets the refrag, and that's what you need to do. If you lose a man, make sure you have a man that can get that refrag, get that kill back.
But Hailfire wasn't able to get the kill either. Unfortunately, he had the right idea. He was able to get a good shot off, but it wasn't able to get Potato Bot. And so now Soju's going to have to somehow tackle Potato Bot and, be able to take Hospital.
Okay, 3 down hospital.
But Potato Bot now gets another kill, down but not out, but still a very dangerous position for him to be in, and I mean, just an absolutely vital spot for Potato Bot.
Yeah, Mayhem's definitely taking advantage, the Potato Bot in particular, of that roof, making Ember sort of slow down and just take losses as they try and clear it.
Soju really needed to hit that shot, though. He had a chance to take out Defilade. He almost did, but Potato Bot now being out is great. And here comes a nade. Here comes a nade. Oh! Beauty. Get that guy an NFL contract because that was a beautiful throw right on top of Soju.
They're sending out James to get the confirm, and I think Milkman's going to be ready for it? No. He was inside the building.
Oh, and another trade, though, giving Mayhem now a 2-0 lead on the final map. And this is going to be an interesting series.
Yeah, this is when things get dangerous if you're Ember. They were playing against this exact moment in Cargo, I think, when they started things off. We were anticipating the aggressive Ember that we did see on Bazaar on Cargo, and instead they wanted to take things slow. They didn't want Mayhem to get back-to-back rounds and be able to ride the momentum of that and overwhelm the scoreline. And they did perfectly. They kept everything tight, and they got that 4-2 on Cargo. And then they invested in that energy and got their lead in Bazaar. Here, it's going to be a test for this Ember team. They haven't had this yet in this series, really. Mayhem with the momentum fully on their side. Ember now has to bounce back, snag a Marsoc round as we shift objectives to that center rubble building. Or actually, no, it looks like it's inside the plane.
Yeah, it's the plane fuselage.
And that's the tough part because, sure, you do have a lot of different areas, levels that you can attack from. You can come from underground. You can come through the plane cockpit. You can come, from all of these different angles. But at the same time, they can hide in all of these different angles as well and really make sure that they are tucked in because this is such a hard objective to cap on. And right now, I mean, Mayhem is doing incredibly well on this map. I mean, almost like you almost wanted to see them have this map selected anyway. And I'm almost curious as to why they didn't pick it in the first place.
Here goes the defense. Ember's moving out. We got Quokka moving up to the tall third story. The third story.
You don't see that played too much.
No. That's usually people like to go to that top floor, the rooftop, but Quokka's in that little middle area you sort of need to jump down onto. So interesting place. This is definitely a smarter defense, more tucked in defense. Let's not say smarter than we saw before.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And right now he is looking to have more sniper roll with PS going on and a 2x zoom, it looks like. And so that's going to be a good spot. He's not going to be seen very easily as he takes out James with a single shot, just as crisp as it can get.
Yeah, that was smooth right there. Oh, and Mayhem is certainly taking their time. They're sending 2 around the north. Potato Bot's coming around the south, a very dangerous south push considering he's taking fire. And the last member of Mayhem is just sort of hanging back there. Not sure what's going on. I think Defilade's just trying to watch the street. But I don't think any member of Ember is going to try and cross that main street. Oh!
And again, Defilade.
I mean, he was looking for Quokka, I suppose, and he found him.
He found a Quokka. They're generally harmless beings, but, you know, in this case, Defilade saw he was deadly and shot back. Hailfire, though, picking up a Theta, and that is a great kill. There is still another one around there, though, but he is smart in rotating because Wookiee just barely peeked that angle.
I think the important thing to take away from here is the offense has now been completely separated. Potato Bot and Defilade are definitely close to each other, but they're not close enough to actually help each other. They have to cross the street to do that. So, and Wookiee, of course, is behind the roof all alone. And this is really where you want to put a team like Mayhem in. You want to get them in this position where they can't help each other. They can't really move either because Hailfire, Switch, and Milkman are kind of watching their own little angles that Mayhem needs to cross. Soju, of course, is in the front to make sure that if anyone comes across that middle street, he'll find them. And, of course, this looks like a solid defense from Ember with a solid start.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing that makes Mayhem so dangerous on the offense is how well they are able to stick and work together. Right now, though, they're not quite able to do that, and so I'm wondering if this might be able to throw them off a little. And so, I mean, right there, Potato Bot was able to shoot Shoju, and so it's a 3v3 and almost a 3 frag.
Deflade's moving in on Switch. It doesn't look like Switch is ready for it either.
Up there.
Now he is.
He's got to be very careful, though, because you do not want to double peek, but you also still want to play it smart and be able to suppress people. You also want to try to tell your other teammates, these are where they're at. Can you possibly get the angle? Can you help me out? Because I'm kind of pinned down right now.
This is the interesting thing of Mayhem is they were in a position where they couldn't help each other, and now they've maneuvered where Wookiee's on the roof, Defilade's in burning, and Potato Bot was over by gas station. And that was actually a very synergistic move. Ember would have to be watching basically all sides, 360 degrees, to make sure they're defended correctly. And that's what Mayhem needs to do. It's now down to a 2v2.
Hailfire had just a super risky move right there. And he still managed to get taken out. Down but not out, though. But, man, he almost got taken off jumping down from that roof. The difficult part, though, is Defilade might have just confirmed that that is a kill when Milkman was able to get the revive, and so he might be off count now.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing. You want to make sure you have a good count on your team. Otherwise, you might be running into what you think is only one person left, and in this situation, there would be 2, and that could basically be your death. "45 seconds left on the timer, so definitely the onus is on Mayhem now to keep pushing forward. Mayhem they need to get to that objective. They need to get that point.
Yeah, especially with 30 seconds left. This is really starting to pressure him. Wookiee, though, is coming in. I mean, he is just going to be making a run for it. Hailfire, though, is going to be able to hear that, and he comes around the corner. Oh, but is unable to get the kill. But there's still one left. And taken out.
I mean, that was the best decision there, too.
Yeah, if you're Milkman, there's a lot of concern there on your end on defense. He actually was going to have to push out was what he was doing to Wookiee, he would have to have either quick checked that hole in the wall there and try and put some rounds through, or have to swing around this, through the plane. And a really good job from Mayhem to be on both sides and catch that rotation on the back end. Tough for Ember, but I mean, geez, Mayhem is really riding the momentum train here. 3-0, the spot that was taken in that third story I have seen before, and while it might catch out a few people, it did seem like Ember was aware of it. Definitely found that very nice sniper shot up into that third story, albeit before a kill comes in from it, but. Still, a good bit of back and forth to get things down to the 1v2 that was that final, that was that round. But now this could be the series on the line here as we hop into round 4. Mayhem up 3-0.
Yeah, and this is going to be the dangerous thing. I mean, at the same time, you were able to hear where the enemy was on the other side of the plane, and for him to still run around and try to get that kill, a little bit risky, especially with how much time was left. And unfortunately, it ended up not working out in Ember's favor. But it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do. Are they going to just, still play it out to the end? Or are they going to just see what happens? But Wookiee almost got taken out right there in the beginning, ducking down just in time.
Yeah, I thought Wookiee was going to cap there at the end. You can definitely cap on the other side of the fuselage there, and he decided to go for the kill. Hailfire and Soju are doing an interesting push through the center. They're moving up slowly. They're going to have to encounter Deflade sooner rather than later, but this is very lopsided push. No one's even attempting the north from Ember.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, too, is Mayhem didn't stick anyone in the middle office building, which is, where we've seen Ember stick someone every single time. And that's usually a pretty important spot, you would think, to stick someone. But it looks like they still have a very strong defensive position elsewhere. They just backed it up a little bit more. And so it'll be interesting to see, especially how James, because normally he would probably be in the mid office building, how he now plays in this little garage cubby hole.
Definitely a strong position from Ember. If they get someone on the roof or even just at one of the relatively raised positions, they'll have an angle on James. They might even be able to see Defilade if they peek in the right direction. But no, I think you'll be blocked by the plane nose. My bad. All slows down now. All right, Ember's definitely trying to make sure this round counts. They don't lose anyone unnecessarily.
Hospital somewhere?
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. And so right now they're being very careful. Quokka, though, able to get James on a very tight peak and a nade that would have confirmed him either way. So, but great shot on Quokka.
They're making sure he's dead, which is a good thing to do. You don't want that res, especially if you lose count. And Theta finds Hailfire.
But Switch took a bullet, but he doesn't know that Wookiee's right there. Wookiee managed to get the kill also. Quokka's moving in. It's going to be interesting to see, though. Oh! And take it out. Because you did say that they were moving a little bit slower, but then it seemed like... did it seem to you that they got a little antsy and just kind of started rushing in before checking their angles, or...
Yes, but that spot, honestly, you need to be pushing fast. You need to be moving. You don't want to crouch through there. As you saw what happened when Deflade... Or when... I forgot who just moved. Quokka tried to retreat back. He got caught by Deflade and Potato Bot. So if you move slow past there, you're essentially going to get picked off by the people in the north.
So, and it looks like that is, yep, exactly what happened. And so now Milkman is having a battle between the roofs. And so it'll be interesting to see on what might happen. Wookiee, though, is being very patient on just holding down his position and tucking in.
It is a 4v2, so I can imagine Ember's a little concerned about their numbers. Soju finds Theta with a headshot. That's going to even it out. It's now a 3v2, and they're in a much better position. Soju can attack Tatobot relatively, I guess, head-on, which isn't something you necessarily want to do, but that's better than attacking someone on a roof.
Yeah, the nice part is, though, Soju and Milkman are still doing what they can to keep the dream alive. I mean, sure, they had a little bit of a disadvantage still, but they're doing everything right.
Soju flubbed a flash, but thankfully no one was on the roof, so it didn't really matter. Oh, and it's all down to Soju.
Wookiee's position, though, has been absolutely crucial for this round, as now Soju is the final one, a 1v3. He's able to get the first kill without having a trade, but now they know exactly where he is and how to prepare for this kind of attack.
Yeah, and Soju only has 50 seconds. He does only need to get to that plane crack, so if he can get there without Wookiee really seeing him, knowing he's there, I mean, of course he's going to have to deal with Deathlade, but that could get Ember back in the game points-wise.
Yeah, but I mean, especially when the pressure is on, time is running low, and you have to try to remember a 7-digit code, that is so difficult to do at times. And so we'll see what happens, especially now with 20 seconds left.
Ooh, and Soju is moving. I mean, he's hauling.
He's cruising, but I don't think it's enough to do it, especially with 15 seconds left.
Oh,
Deathlade's hurt him.
Yep, and they execute him inside the plane crack. I mean, it was a worthy effort. He needed the cap.
A celebratory kiss for the final two survivors of Mayhem to get themselves that final quarantine map W. And we went through that so fast. This is the first time I've gone back to the scoreboard in this final map. I mean, there was no time wasted between rounds. Each round the team locked in and ready to go with the action. Really impressive to see Ember do so well in this set, but ultimately not able to bring it together for that final map, the series decider. I don't know if it was the pressure, if it was just the momentum that Mayhem got out the gate or what, but Q1 just looked different in comparison to Cargo and Bazaar, and what was a very solid performance ultimately gets shut down from Mayhem, and Ember most likely relegated to the open qualifiers for another season.
Yep, and I mean, it's tough to see, but at the same time, I'm still incredibly impressed with how Ember is playing. Yeah. I'm also impressed with how Mayhem is. They are a force to reckon with, someone to watch out and fear. I'm excited to see how these matches are going to be coming in the coming weeks as we start to end another season.
Yeah, forget about it. The open qualifiers next weekend are going to be a thrill to tune into. We'll have tons of games, hopefully cast across multiple channels for that open qualifier. Eventually, two teams from Group A, a team from Group A and B will face off in the following week, and that will be our 8th position for the closed qualifier. All of this going to be weekend back to back to back, so while you may not have any matches to look forward to next week, you can definitely put something down in your calendar for a couple of hours of Onward on Saturday and Sunday for that closed qualifier. It is not going to be something you want to miss. We've been talking about it all season. The top 20 is dangerous. Isn't that right, Snooper?
Oh, yeah. Definitely dangerous. Mayhem showing why they're a top 7 team.
Yeah.
They can go down in the first 2 maps and bring it right on back. You have to be playing top tier to beat a team like Mayhem. You can't let up. You can't relax. You can't let, we're winning, go to your head. Just because you took the first map and you're starting to do well on the second one, you need to still lock it down. Make sure that Mayhem has no chance to win, because they will shove it back in your face if you get a little overconfident.
Yeah, these teams are familiar with dealing with adversity, to say the least, and a exhilarating finale, if you will, to Season 10. Cannot wait for this postseason that is coming up. I am very, very excited, and I think everyone that was tuning in today is also pretty stoked, which is, to that note, a shout out to everyone that has dropped by. If you are new, make sure you hit that follow button. Next weekend is the closed qualifiers. The weekend after that, or next weekend is the open qualifiers. The weekend after that's closed, and then we have our Season 10 semis and finals, and you do not want to miss that. I can guarantee those will be some incredible games. Whew. It's an exciting time to be watching Onward, that's for sure. A quick shout out to all of our sponsors. There is a ever-growing and long list of them. ProTube VR, VR Cover, B Haptics, HyperX, Rebuff Reality, Cybershoes, Arma, VRWare, Asterion, and Fixed, all coming together to offer prizing and sponsorship to our league. Nearly $1,500 in prizing on the line, $5,000 plus in raw cash on top of a bevy of accessories from all of our sponsors. So A lot for these teams to compete for, and it is, I think, what makes these matchups so exciting because the pressure gets amplified, and it's, again, why you want to tune in to the closed open and semis and finals that are going to be coming down the next few weekends. I think that's going to be it for us here at the desk. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name has been Nightfire with 2 E's, my casters Silent Night and SnooperFax. We appreciate you all, and we will see you next weekend for the Open qualifiers.
Later, guys. Stay safe.